Master trapper and tanner Tom Orr gained a huge following when he featured in History Channel's Mountain Men.
Tom Orr, who lived off the earth and won people over, was the tough face of mountain men for many years, with his traditional survival techniques. Then he abruptly disappeared from the show, leaving admirers speechless and pondering. What actually become of this contemporary frontiersman? Was it a matter of personal preference, health concerns, or something far more enigmatic? In the background, there have been rumors and wild theories. We learn the truth now regarding Tom's abrupt departure, and believe us, the truth is far stranger than the gossip. TV program for mountain men. At first glance, Mountain Men may appear to be just another reality TV program, yet it provides something much more honest and unvarnished. This popular History Channel shows reveal a world that most of us never ever get a peek of. Via narratives. Where surviving isn't a metaphor, where daily existence is a battle of fortitude, and where having a full pantry before winter arrives, clean water, and firewood are the benchmarks for comfort. The program follows those unique people as it immerses viewers in America's untamed frontiers, who have abandoned modern life in favor of creating a life that suits them, off the grid, deep among the harshness of nature. Every episode serves as a window rather than merely a spectacle into a lifestyle that most people have forgotten. Men that viewers encounter don't only reside in the wilderness, it shapes them. 3 figures stand out among the others, not only for their ability to survive, but also for the overwhelming amount of personality they project onto the screen: Marty Maiorotto, Tom Orr, and Eustace Conway. In North Carolina's foggy hills, Eustace Conway creates a life that seems to have been taken from another century. Motivated by a purpose, Eustace does more than simply survive off the land. He instructs others in order to preserve traditional survival techniques, ways to follow suit. He balances teaching, making, and dealing with the ongoing weather and wild animal hazards. However, there has been debate around his portrayal, with some fans doubting the authenticity of his scenes. Marty Maiorotto braves the far north, the harsh wilderness of Alaska, where days with temperatures below -40 degrees are commonplace. Marty is all grit as he cuts firewood and pilots his bush plane into remote trapping grounds, in heavy snow, and fighting fatigue and the kind of cold that makes it hard to breathe. For him, it's about accepting a different form of modern existence, not about running away from it. Liberty. He gained a loyal following thanks to his quiet fortitude and straightforward response to danger, base that respected his fortitude and modesty. However, it is located in Montana's untamed terrain, Yak River Valley, where fans got to know a man who would end up being the show's central character, or Tom. A former rancher with leathery hands, a gentle grin, and eyes that appeared to have after 1,000 winters, Tom transcended his role as a character and became a representation of persevering spirit. From making traditional clothing out of animal hides by hand to getting ready all year, Tom's life is a live example of the past during a harsh 7-month winter. No shortcuts, pure, hard-won survival, no drama. These men collectively stand for something subtly radical, a return to simplicity, a clutter-free life where every decision has consequences more than just comfort, and every error might cost more. Not only does Mountain Men depict peril, but it demonstrates the elegance of living in harmony with nature, abiding by your ethics, and discovering purpose in the daily challenges that the majority of us never encounter. However, none of the stories resonated with the entire cast. More profound chord than Tom Orr's. Fans observed minor shifts as the seasons progressed, longer, slower motions, silences, and finally a lack of movement that raised innumerable questions. And the mystery only deepens from there. Where is Tom now? What caused this mountain to rise? Legend into isolation? Now that we've reached the center of his story, Tom and Nancy, stay with us. But in the icy wilderness of Montana, what was the mystery they kept silent? Together in the wild, Tom and Nancy Orr's untold story. A new chapter quietly began when Tom met Nancy. It wasn't merely one that was full of adventure, but based on a deeper foundation of love, trust, and an unwavering will to live their lives as they see fit. The pair took a choice that most people would never dare to think about in the late 1970s. They filled an old, dilapidated pickup vehicle with all they owned. A truck they paid in muskrat pelts, incidentally, and then made their way into the heart of Montana. No road map, no assurances, only a common desire to exchange the cacophony of civilization for the quiet of nature. When they first arrived in the Montana wilderness, they embarked on a trek as difficult as it was amazing. The winters were harsh. Food was occasionally in short supply, temperatures dropped, and the relentless cold made their bodies hurt. Nancy and Tom, however, remained intact. If anything, those difficult times simply made them closer and more determined. They were gradually assimilating with the terrain rather than merely being there. Then a pivotal moment occurred that would influence the remainder of their lives. While traveling, Tom discovered something ancient while exploring a little American Indian store in Billings. The practice of brain tanning is strangely familiar. This traditional technique for preserving and softening animal hides, using the animal's own brains, kindled a fire inside Tom. He looked it over, practiced, and eventually became proficient at it. That straightforward epiphany created a new avenue, not only a means of earning a living, but also a stronger bond with the life they had selected. Their proficiency in brain tanning quickly introduced them to a larger group of outdoors lovers and off-the-grid craftspeople, particularly at the yearly Black Powder Rendezvous. Tom's abilities really came to the fore here. People were inspired rather than merely amazed. Tom wasn't just another woodland dweller. He was a teacher, a craftsman, and in many respects a representation of a dying but highly esteemed heritage. However, Tom never traveled that route by himself. During every snowfall, every setback, Nancy was there. And each minor triumph. She acquired Tom's ferocity in hunting, trapping, and survival. Their Yak River Valley existence evolved into more than a tale of independence. It turned into a real-life illustration of what it means to construct something sturdy with your own hands. To transform a wilderness into a home while doing it with the person you love. It wasn't always simple, of course. Health scares, extended periods of seclusion, and frequent encounters with peril, from untamed creatures to the harsh weather. However, during it all, Tom and Nancy didn't falter. They flourished in the wilderness rather than merely surviving it. Additionally, as the years went by, their tale developed into something even more significant, a legacy. Now in his 80s, Tom has taught more than simply how to survive. He has left behind a philosophy and a way of life, based on the unwavering conviction that you should live authentically, simplicity, and reverence for the environment. Tom Orr's ascent from rodeo rings to mountain peaks. Tom Orr was a young man long before he rose to fame in the wilderness living community. An individual pursuing an entirely distinct dream, one that raged under the dazzling lights of rodeo stadiums, full with the roar of hoofs and the unadulterated excitement of competition. His escape from the mayhem of the A move to Montana's peaceful, challenging wilderness reads less like a change in career and more like an incredible metamorphosis, propelled by bravery, difficult lessons, and an insatiable need for independence. In Rockford, Illinois, where Tom's narrative starts, the countryside served as more than just a place to grow up. It served as a test. Being raised in a household where riding a horse wasn't only encouraged, however, as was to be expected, the sound of hoofbeats and the scent of leather influenced Tom's early course. Under their father's careful supervision and with his brother, Tom acquired the skill of riding tricks. Riding a horse would be sufficient for the majority of children. However, Tom? He wanted more. As a boy, even he possessed a spark, a spirit that would not accept anything less than the best. That spark had grown into a fire by the time the person was 15. Hitchhiking while carrying only a Tom traveled to Ohio to participate in his first rodeo with his rigging bag and bull rope. It was the start of a crazy and perilous journey that would continue for more than 20 years. All through he made a reputation for himself in the International Rodeo Association in the 1960s. Winning, not merely contending. He consistently finished in the top 10, earning him respect. Figure in the field of bull riding. His technique, bravery, and unwavering determination won him the applause of supporters and the respect of colleagues. However, there are risks associated with rodeo life. Tom was all too familiar with them. In 1970, when things ought to have been just another ride, he encountered Woolly Bugger, a bull. What transpired next would alter his eternal life. After being forcibly thrown and trampled, Tom lost consciousness and suffered severe wounds. The agony, the blackout, and the harsh reminder of his own mortality persisted at that same instant. Alongside him. And something had changed in him, even though he didn't leave the rodeo right soon. He was not drawn away by terror. Clarity was the key. The rodeo started to lose its luster during the ensuing 10 years. The excitement persisted, but so was realizing that he desired something deeper, something greater. In 1981, Tom made the deciding to hang up his equipment, which changed his life. But instead of seeing it as a conclusion, he saw it as a starting. The wild was beckoning, but this time it wasn't accompanied by spotlights and roaring crowds. It was with open skies and calm winds. Tom's formative years weren't only thrilling, they were forming. In addition to teaching him how to tumble, the rodeo also taught him how to stand up, how to move forward, and how to live a life that is purposeful and intense. These characteristics would turn into his life's foundation in the Montana wilderness, where tenacity, endurance, and resourcefulness are essential for existence in addition to being helpful. Thus, he didn't leave anything behind when he departed the stadium. His advantage. He carried it with him into the rivers, valleys covered with snow, and woodlands, where he and Nancy started creating a different type of legacy. One that was characterized by tenacity and respect rather than awards. For the environment and an unbreakable connection. However, even the strongest people eventually reach their breaking points, medical issues. But after all those years of relentless driving, what specifically caused Tom to slow down? When nature strikes back. Tom Orr's health issues and the pressure of stardom for many years. Tom Orr served as a towering representation of tenacious perseverance and wilderness knowledge on men of the mountains. An experienced hiker, a survival expert, and a live reminder of a disappearing lifestyle, Tom appeared to be almost unbeatable. The wild was not the only thing that drew viewers in. Montanan scenery, but to the serene, unwavering presence of a man who had subdued it. Thus, when Tom left the limelight, even for a short time, admirers couldn't help but worry. Something wasn't right. During season 11 of the show, the fear became a concern as an unanticipated health scare caused Tom was forced to take on a task that he was unable to follow, trap, or subdue. One evening, Tom's breathing became labored. The problem appeared out of nowhere, unexpectedly, and it was severe enough to force Tom and his wife Nancy into an emergency room. Mode. The couple drove almost 80 miles, more than that. Because there were no hospitals in the area and no neighbors to call. Reaching the closest medical institution in Libby, Montana, requires traveling 120 kilometers through rugged terrain. This was a painful moment for a man who had never had to visit a doctor for anything serious. His physique, which had withstood harsh rodeo feats, bitterly cold winters, and the rigors of the wilderness for decades, was at long last starting to show wear. It was determined that Tom had heart failure. His heart was not pumping as vigorously as it ought to, and his lungs were filling with fluid, making it difficult to breathe. The doctors didn't spend any time. Medication was begun right away, and a cardiac monitor was installed on Tom in order to monitor any irregularities. Considering the distance additionally, experts advised him to wear a defibrillator vest at home, a clear reminder that there are limits to even the toughest mountain man. However, during this difficult period, what stood out wasn't only the diagnosis. It was the couple's unspoken bonding power. Nancy, his constant companion in life and survival, took on new challenges. She assumed a greater physical burden, overcame daily duties, and helped Tom get used to this new stage of life. Their cadence shifted, however, their determination was unwavering. Those who had previously appreciated their off-grid way of living now saw something even more potent, a love that was created by fire and ice and is currently enduring the long, insidious test of illness and time. Their trip to the clinic involved more than just getting medical attention was a reality check. They have to think about if the life they could still sustain them as they grew older, since they had constructed in the forest, far from contemporary assistance. For the fans, it served as a depressing reminder that regardless of one's level of expertise or experience, the human body has its boundaries. Nevertheless, Tom's spirit remained unwavering. Encouraged by Nancy's unwavering commitment, he continued, demonstrating to audiences what true resilience looks like, not merely surviving a snowstorm, yet gracefully embracing death. However, Tom and Nancy had more difficulties than only solely to health. A new test type surfaced as their popularity increased, one that hit close to the core of the life they had fought so hard to protect. Notoriety. Tom opened up to the Kootenai Valley Times in an honest interview on the less glamorous aspects of being a TV personality in the woods. Despite picking a house nestled amid the enormous cabinet, the couple's once private retreat in the mountains became a popular destination for interested tourists. Travelers, in an attempt to get a peek of the actual mountain man, admirers and even honeymooners traveled from as far away as Switzerland. The foot traffic became unbearable one summer, transforming their retreat into a destination for tourists. Tom was grateful for the fans' affection and support, never assuming that their admiration is undeserved. However, he was unable to overlook the toll it took on their tranquility, exactly what they had been looking for in Montana's expansive, wild areas. Additionally, when you mix frequent visitors with a failing heart, the future begins to take a very different form.